Patrol.
Hello, we're back again. It is that time of the night where we have to tell you what we have in our plate, dish, and you eat. And thank you for supporting us and being with us. Thank you for tolerating our absence. But we're hoping that slowly we are going back to our ways of doing things. It's January, and we're hoping it's not a dry Jan.
Hopefully it's not a dry January, guys. Thank you so much, and welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us yet again for another video. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to this wonderful platform where we get to talk about, yes, you could say social issues. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, the former Paralympic athlete Oscar Pistorius has been granted parole and will be allowed to return to the Waterkloof, Pretoria home of his uncle, Arnold Pistorius. This happened on the 5th of January. That's what last week, Friday. The Correctional Services Department announced on Friday that Pistorius will be released from prison under strict conditions until the end of December 2029, okay? Before his parole falls away and he becomes a free man. It's been 10 years since the incident and about 9 since he was sentenced. So Pistorius was convicted of the murder of his girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp, whom he shot 4 times with hollow point ammunition as she cowered behind a locked bathroom door of his ultra-secured Pretoria house on Valentine's Day in 2013. During his trial, the judge found Pistorius guilty of the lesser crime of culpable homicide, dolus eventualis. Do you remember that term, Mr. Anonymous?
No, I do.
Comparable to manslaughter, and ruling that there was no evidence he had wanted to kill Steenkamp. That was dolus eventualis, and he was given a 13-year jail sentence in 2017, and then after appealing the initial sentence he got in 2015. I remember the whole nation was very offended by it. He pleaded not guilty, saying that he mistook Reeva for a buckler. Lest we not forget that Oscar actually tried to blame his evil actions on the fear of black men. Do you remember that? He had alluded that there was a black man who had intruded that night, and he thought or was under the impression that he was shooting that person while he was shooting Reeva.
Black man.
That's what he said as his defense. People have forgotten. We were all shooketh when he said it. I was shook. I was like, what? I don't see that happening in where you live and where you reside like that. But he maintained his story. And his story he maintained. He maintained it to this day. It hasn't changed. He hasn't changed it. About 2 years after this day, he was convicted of the crime, even after he pleaded not guilty at the North Gauteng High Court in 2014 on the basis that he mistook Reeva for an intruder when he pulled the trigger. Eventually, in 2015, the 37-year-old was sentenced to 13 years and 5 months in prison after an appeal that the initial 6-year sentence was too lenient. After being eligible for parole, the Correctional Services Board deemed him fit for social reintegration. So the Correctional Services Department said on Wednesday last week that the details about the release of the former Paralympian athlete and murderer Oscar Pistorius on parole on Friday, he will not be made public. So they said they were not going to make it public, and the department said that South Africa opted for a victim-centered criminal justice system, and this means inmates and parolees are not paraded. So they also barred the media from making any contact with Oscar Pistorius. Therefore, media opting to camp outside any correctional facility may not be prevented from carrying out their work as per their line of duty, but it would not be possible for them to get photos, videos, footage of Pistorius leaving that correctional facility. I was nosing around social media streets, and I did not see anything of Oscars. They did not get anything. Here's what happened. The media camped outside the prison, and then they got the report that he was already released. He was already gone, and he was at his uncle's place in Waterkloof. He was gone. So they were just waiting for him to walk out of the prison and get. No, he was gone. I don't know whether he was released earlier in the morning,
Probably
maybe like
was,
for
or
5 o'clock,
the previous day.
or the previous day, or even the previous Wednesday. Who knows? But they just camped there and they got nothing. They got nothing. And I did see the outcry of some organizations requesting for him not to be paraded or made the center of attention, as this might be unfortunate for the family of the victim. So I guess that's the reason why they did not want him to interact with the media. And providing details about
Doesn't it
his
feel
release.
like when the law is applied to certain people, it's like we're in America or in England or something like that?
Right? I was very shocked at the hush-hushness of this. It surprised me. And I even saw someone asking if we are not covering it, because it was very hush-hush. It was difficult to get information.
Oh, well, one can argue that he has served his sentence, so however the sentence was, whether the sentence was fair or not, it's another story that we could have covered during that time.
And then they struck me when they say that providing details about his release may be a security threat for him and others. And I was like, what? What threat?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's the law that those ones do tell you about, this law, the mighty law. That's what it is. That's what democracy is. That's, I guess.
How is he under threat? I don't understand.
Yes. I guess he
I don't
is.
understand. But then there were allegations that the Steenkamp family. I don't believe that, in my opinion. It's all very strange. But the department has to carefully manage that risk, is what they said. Now, who might want to harm Oscar? I mean, what's going on here?
Look, there's no one. You know that there's no one.
Then general parole conditions
Allegedly
will apply to Pistorius. For example, he will be expected to be at home at a particular hours of the day. He may not consume alcohol or other prohibited substances. Remember that time when he murdered Reeva. He was allegedly under the influence.
And he saw a black one. Okay.
Participation in programs identified by Parole Board will also be compulsory for him. So he's been instructed to undergo GBV and anger management classes. According to his parole conditions, Pistorius has to undergo regular therapy as well as mandatory therapy and training to manage his anger and tendency of violence towards women. As with other parolees, Pistorius is restricted from conducting media interviews, the department said. So all those people who wanted to do podcasts with him, they are not permitted to do that. All those who wanted to write or publish books telling his side of the story, y'all are not permitted to do that.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess the saddest part is the victim's family. June Steenkamp, who is Reeva's mother, said that Oscar Pistorius had not been rehabilitated, according to her. Her comments came in advance of Pistorius' release from prison for parole, even though she did not oppose Oscar Pistorius' parole. She told the parole board that Oscar had not shown true remorse. In her words, and I quote, she said, "I am not convinced that Oscar has been rehabilitated. Rehabilitation requires someone to engage honestly with the full truth of his crime and the consequences thereof. Nobody can claim to have remorse if they are not able to engage fully with the truth. If someone does not show remorse, they cannot be considered rehabilitated." Upon hearing about the release of Oscar, June Steenkamp released a statement to express how she feels about his release in 40 days since she last spoke to her daughter, Reeva Steenkamp, 11 years and 9 is it 11 years since she last spoke to her daughter. She even counted the days, and 9 days, 11 years and 9 days since she last spoke to Reeva, her daughter. And June Steenkamp described the day that she lost her daughter for good as the day that life changed forever. When Reeva was shot and killed through the bathroom door by her partner, Paralympian Oscar Pistorius, she was only 30 years old. And on that fateful day, Oscar lost his hero status as well as his career. At the time, he was a world champion and record-breaking athlete. And June argued that the Parole board to treat the safety of women as the most important consideration in its deliberations, highlighting that Oscar hasn't accepted that he targeted her daughter. Now this for me is the sad part. As the family, we can even see with the Meyiwa family that all they want is for someone to say, I did it and I'm sorry. So with Reeva's mom, and people were like, oh, she's seeking attention. Why is she writing letters and all of that? But you have to look at it from her perspective. She still doesn't know. From what I'm getting with the statement, in my opinion, is that she doesn't know why her daughter died.
Or maybe he knows. He just wants to hear someone saying it out loud.
Giving them with their own
maybe
mouth.
Maybe she knows, yes.
The reason why he did what he did. And she's being told, let it go, let it go.
That's the society we live in these days.
She said, I do not believe Oscar's version that he thought the person in the toilet was a burglar. I do not know anybody who does. My dearest child screamed for her life, loud enough for the neighbors to hear her. We remember the neighbors testifying to that. And he still doesn't want to tell them why he did what he did. It's so sad. She wrote in a previous statement, I do not know what gave rise to his choices to shoot through a closed door 4 times with hollow point ammunition when I believe he knew it was Reeva. She added that she was not convinced Pistorius had not been rehabilitated, but that she has not opposed the release. She willed it and she does not oppose the release. Instead, she has poured her heart out in another statement on the official parole release of Oscar. And she could not oppose his release if officials decided otherwise. I remember when she said this, it just gave me that impression that the umthetho of correctional facilities is the rules of the correctional facilities. And if they say that Oscar is eligible for parole, there's nothing
anyone
the
can
family
do.
can say.
Yes.
So almost 11 years later, the pain is still raw and real. And my dear late husband, Barry, and I have never been able to come to terms with Reeva's death or the way she died. Now, through the years, Barry and I were encouraged by the love and messages of support from both friends and strangers. Part of Barry and daily conversations were always flooded by sorrow we felt for the parents and families of victims whose perpetrators were not brought to book. Our thoughts remained with them as they were denied any form of closure, and the names of their loved ones were never recognized or honored. It made us feel guilty to an extent, but at the same time, the trauma of reliving and retelling our story has been a huge cross for us to bear. Now, Barry is Reeva Steenkamp's father, and he passed away. I'm not quite sure which year he passed on, but yeah, he did pass on, and it reminded me of Senzomiwa's father as well as how he passed on. And she claims, June Steenkamp claims that part of him passing away, he also was mending a broken heart of having lost her daughter.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but not think about Ubabaga Senzo as well.
Yeah, same.
Similar circumstances. And the media interest meant the loss of our privacy and made it difficult to mourn in peace. Sadly, reports were often accompanied by verbal and emotional abuse by some members of the public, not only towards us but also towards our deceased daughter. It is with my sincere wish, and it was Barry's too, that people take a moment to consider the impact of their hurtful comments. We did not choose this. We would much rather have our loving daughter alive and laughing with us. June added that they have always known and acknowledged that parole is part of the justice system, and it comes with their call to have the law take its course. More than anything, parole release subject to certain conditions has affirmed her and her husband's belief in the country's justice system. Now, Oscar's parole conditions included anger management. Of course, we've discussed all of this.
Why
and
would
even
it
with this
require
tough
that?
anger management.
Without him having admitted that he was angry and he did whatever that he did, because
The correctional facility is the one that can explain.
so you just fit.
They are the ones who are best to explain that.
You just fit. You say, okay, you call in anger management there.
We know, what I know from following throughout the years is that Oscar wanted parole. He really did want parole. He's been applying for parole. And the Steenkamp family has been giving him a tough time. That's all I know.
Until he was eligible.
Yeah, until he was eligible. And now that he's eligible, they are giving him anger management. For what, I don't know. The correctional facility can explain that. I don't know. There have been an outcry of injustice on the back of Oscar not having spent enough time behind bars. Do you feel he spent enough time?
No, I
bars?
don't. I don't feel he spent enough time. I know for sure that a normal person would have been given 25 or something like that.
And on this, she added that there can never be justice if your loved one is never coming back, and no amount of time served will bring Reeva back. We who remain behind are the ones serving a life sentence. Wow. We who remain behind, that cuts deep. She sends off her penning by saying that her only desire now is to live her last years in peace, with her focus on the Reeva Steenkamp Foundation to continue Reeva's legacy. So Reeva's mom is giving a sense here that Oscar has never told them what happened really that night, and he may never explain to them the reason why he took their daughter's life, which is why she does not really believe that he's been rehabilitated, because if he truly was, he would have given them that closure and told them why he ended Reeva's life. I remember watching that show Yobe, that victim and perpetrator TV show. I know it was a TV show, but it gave you a picture of what happens just before you get parole. You know? You have to really give the family what they want. Give them that closure, of what you did. And it also sounding like him getting parole was not up to them, but more up to correctional facility processes.
When he was eligible.
Yeah, when he was eligible. So they feel he deserves parole, and there's nothing that the victim's family can do to stop the process. Now, this current justice system has never considered the feelings of the victims, of the families, victims, in my opinion. It seems like they have a process and they follow the process. They don't care much about how the victims' families are affected at all. Because I even remember with that Yobe show, in my opinion, undertone, it just felt like the families of the victims were kind of ambushed and forced to go and meet the perpetrators and try to hear what they have to say. And it even hurts more if the perpetrator does not want to fully explain
what happened,
or take
or still lies about it, what happened.
It hurts even more.
For me, parole should be 90% dependent on the people that were affected by your crime. So if they are not willing to forgive you, then you must serve your sentence. If it's 13 years, then it must be 13 years. And also halving this thing. I don't believe that it should be one day, 13 years.
Yes, he got 13 years. Apparently, it had to do with his disability, because apparently, initially, he had gotten 15 years. So he had gotten 15-year sentence, and then he appealed and got 13.
All animals are equal.
Well, I did see some of the footage, and it seemed like the police and correctional services were at the premises of Oscar Pistorius' uncle, and it was all very hush-hush. I will put the footage here.
doing that? Sorry, are you able to just tell us what's happening here?
Brigadier's Oscar home. Brigadier's
Is
Oscar
Oscar
home.
home?
Is Oscar inside, Brigadier?
Sorry, but you.
When did he
you're
arrive,
police
Brigadier?
official. You should be speaking to us.
Brigadier, when did he arrive?
Harsh. Like he didn't want to talk to the media. It was like, you know, he was treated like a VIP. You know, I don't know. That's my opinion. It's like he treated VIP treatment. Don't get close to him. Don't speak to him. Don't speak about him. Yeah, I will put the footage so you guys conclude for yourself what that is. I don't understand. But yeah, there's that footage of police leaving the uncle's premises at Waterkloof, and there seems to be allegations also that his life is in danger. I don't know what is happening there. So Oscar Pistorius will be staying with his uncle to serve out the rest of his sentence, and his uncle has assured that the media that Oscar Pistorius has taken this chapter of his life in his strides and that he will be back on his feet in no time. They dodged the media from capturing him leaving the prison premises by announcing that he was going home, while the media had just begun camping outside that Adress correctional facility in Pretoria. So Oscar Pistorius' release time was not disclosed, and they're saying it's for security reasons. Yeah, and some of the comments from the people, they were obviously not happy. Some people are like, no, he has already paid for his crime or whatnot. But yeah, it just gives that picture that, you know what, the justice system, when it comes to who are left behind,
They get more punished.
Yeah, we have to deal with the pain of losing a loved one. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I can't continue with this video. I just feel like, you know what, it's a wrap, because you can see what is happening, man. You can see.
Thank you. Please subscribe, like the video, comment, and share.